kind and mannerly to be around. One day Neville was waiting at a red signal with a goods train. The troublesome trucks were being very unruly and rude. They bumped his buffers and yanked on his couplings. "That's enough of that nonsense," he said crossly, and he banged the trucks back into position. Then, with a big cloud of steam, Neville puffed away. Neville arrived at the docks with his trucks. He was uncoupled and Porter shunted another line of trucks behind him. This line of trucks was long and heavy. With a huff and a puff, Neville pulled the train out of the docks. He was steaming along the tracks very well. The sun shone and his steam was white and fluffy. Neville puffed into Vicarstown with his train. He applied his brakes, but he just skidded through the station and almost ran into Stanley. Neville was embarrassed. "Oh no, not this again. I've had these brakes fixed so many times, and yet they still fail," said Neville. His driver looked at Neville's wheels and inspected his brakes. "If we use a brake van on every one of your goods trains, I suspect it will help even out the brakes on the entire train," said Neville's driver. So that's what they did. Every time Neville pulled a goods train, he went to the yards every morning and checked to see if his train had a brake van. He even got to pull Toad along one day. Everything was going well until one day he puffed into the yards and there wasn't a brake van to be seen. Neville was worried. "Oh no," said Neville. "I hope the train won't be so heavy today." The train was heavy and had lots of heavy flatbed trucks. Neville felt more nervous than ever. Neville backed down on the train and pulled it away. He puffed through the countryside, and with every wheel turn he wondered how he was going to stop. Up the line was a goods train waiting at a red signal. Neville didn't know he was there. He rounded the bend and saw the train. Neville slammed on his brakes, but it was too late. And some devastating news at Elmsbridge Station. Engine number 33010 failed to stop at a warning signal. They say the brakes had locked. They slid into the back of a guard's van, killing the guard in the process. The driver of 33010 and the fireman sustained major to minor injuries and have been rushed to Sodor Hospital to treat their damages. Further news will be updated later tonight. Sir Topham Hatt came to the scene. "Dear, oh dear, this is a terrible mess," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I'm sorry, sir. My brakes have been going bad and I keep getting them fixed, but they just go out in a couple of months," said Neville sadly. Sir Topham Hatt pondered. "I'll make arrangements for you to head to the works for a new set of brakes," he said. Neville was lifted back on the rails and shunted to the works. At the works, Neville was happy his brakes were getting fixed. The workmen checked them all over and fitted the brakes carefully. Neville was happy. He even got to test his brakes on the testing track. Neville liked the testing track. He popped back and forth and applied his brakes when he was told to. He had never had brakes as great as these before, and after his test he headed out of the works. Neville steamed into the yards. Sir Topham Hatt was there. "So, Neville, how was it at the works?" "It was grand, sir. My brakes feel so much better, and I even went on the testing track." "I'm glad you had a great time, and since you're back, I will need you to pull a small goods train to the mainland." Neville was delighted. That evening, Neville puffed along the line to the mainland. He was happy to be a really useful engine.